Hey everybody, I hope you guys are healthy and safe. So I have here on me the Vivo V20 Pro and the standard Vivo V20. So these are two affordable mid-rangers from Vivo. Now I know what you might have noticed already is that both of these phones still have notches. I mean, that's a very outdated design for late 2020, but both of these phones have good reasons to house a notch because they are probably the most impressive front-facing camera hardware in all smartphones right now. So both of these phones rock a 44 megapixel selfie camera. 44 megapixel, that's insane. So you notice that the Pro model has a slightly larger notch. That's because it houses a secondary 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera. But make no mistake, the star of the show is the 44 megapixel selfie camera. Now there's one more thing of interest with the standard V20. It's that this phone runs Android 11 out of the box, and technically this is the very first phone to hit the markets with Android 11. It beat the Google Pixel 5 to the market by like a week or two. So I'll go over the main selling point, which is the selfie camera, in a bit. Let's look at the overall specs first. So the specs between these two phones are very similar, other than the processor and the selfie camera, so the lack of one right here. So both of these phones have a 6.44-inch OLED display with a resolution of 2400 by 1080. You can see it's a very nice looking, vibrant, punchy screen. Unfortunately, it is only a 60 Hertz refresh rate, not 90, not 120. That's a disappointment. Now they have the exact same back camera too. You have a 64 megapixel main camera right here up front, and then you have an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and then a 2 megapixel depth sensor. Now by now, I think we already know that these 2 megapixel depth sensor macro lens are kind of useless. They're kind of decoration. So we can look at this as really just a dual camera system, a 64 megapixel main lens and then 8 megapixel ultra wide lens with a 105-degree field of vision. So both of these phones run on 8 gig of RAM with a 4000 mAh battery, and they're both pretty sleek with a thickness of 7.4 millimeters, and they both ship with this really nice matte glass back too, so it definitely feels nice in the hand. Now where we're going to see a difference is in processor. So this one runs on a Snapdragon 765G, while the standard V20 runs on a Snapdragon 720G. So really, three differences between these two phones. The Pro has an extra selfie camera, the Pro is a slightly more powerful processor, and the standard V20 runs on Android 11 while the Pro runs on Android 10. Now unfortunately, Vivo did not tell me pricing for these two devices, but looking at the specs and hardware, the fact that it does not have a high refresh panel, I'm pretty sure this will be very, very affordable. I'm guessing under 400 bucks. Okay, so since these two phones are so similar, I can put down the standard V20 now and just kind of focus on this one until I get to the Android 11 part. So let's look at the selfie camera. So remember, when I talk about the selfie camera on this phone, it applies to both phones. So 44 megapixel selfie camera, that's a lot of pixels to play with, and also it has an f2.0 aperture. So you're getting a pretty nice natural depth of field even without going into portrait mode. But there are also many different features that Vivo has built into the selfie camera. So the first is eye autofocus. So it's very similar to the technology in the Sony cameras, meaning as soon as your face gets in the frame, the camera locks onto your eye so you can keep track of your face. So that's perfect for people who love taking selfies or if they're vlogging. And you're gonna want to vlog with this phone too because it can shoot 4K 60 FPS selfie video. That's really damn high quality for a front-facing camera. And you also have slow motion selfies. This is a trick that Apple introduced with the iPhone. Now you can get this on the Vivo V20 Pro and the standard V20. And just overall, the front-facing camera, it's really well performing. Like you'll see these samples here side by side. For the most part, my face comes out a lot more brightly lit and in focus than other cameras, including the Galaxy S20 FE or the Microsoft Duo or the Galaxy Fold. And you'll see that dynamic range is also much better than even the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Now keep in mind, the iPhone 11 Pro Max is a $1,300 phone. But as you can see here, as soon as I take pictures in front of a backlit situation, which is a challenging shot because you have light coming in behind your head, the Vivo V20 is able to identify my face to expose it properly and also not blow out the lights behind me, whereas the iPhone 11 Pro could not do that. Now Vivo's built in a lot of beauty filters into its selfie camera algorithm, and these, to be honest, they're a little bit scary how much it does. I mean, just look at right here. You have complete granular control over what type of beauty filter to apply to your face, so you can make your chin longer or shorter, you can make your face wider or skinnier, you can make your nose more prominent or a little bit flatter, you can make your eyes bigger. Now shooting videos with the selfie camera looks good. Like I said, you can shoot up to 4K 60, but if you lower it down to 4K 30, you can shoot with stabilization on, and the stabilization for a front-facing camera is really good. All right, enough of the selfie camera. Now let's talk about the main camera system. So 64 megapixel camera shoots pixel binned photos. I think for the most part, in this mid-tier kind of entry-level price range, photos turn out really nice. At night, I think it suffers a little bit in terms of dynamic range and noise, but you can always turn on night mode to fix that. Like in general, if you're taking pictures during the day with this camera, I don't have any complaints. I really like that you have a macro mode that you can use. I think that's very fun to play with. And ultra wide angle camera, it's okay. It's not gonna blow me away, but it's definitely serviceable as long as you shoot during the day. All right, now let's move on to the standard V20 because this is still running Android 10. This runs Android 11, the first phone in the world to do so, at least to ship with Android 11. So let's look at what Android 11 has to offer. So Android 11 is not a huge upgrade over Android. It's gonna feel mostly similar to Android 10, except you get a couple of new features. So the first is notification history. Now you can check out all your notifications that's come through in the past 7 days. That's pretty helpful for me as someone who gets a lot of notifications that pop up, and usually I have a bad habit of just swiping them away. Sometimes I've swiped it before I've even really read it. Then later I'll be like, oh, what just came through? I want to check it. Now I can jump into settings and check that right away. The second thing is Android wants to make multitasking a little bit easier for you, so now you have chat bubbles or chat heads built into Android 11. So if you use Facebook Messenger, you know what chat heads are. To be honest, I find them a little bit annoying, but some people like them. So now if I have WhatsApp or WeChat, I can minimize the chat into a little bubble that floats onto the home screen. So Android 11 also prioritizes media control. So for example, let's say I'm playing music in Spotify and I close the app. Now if I swipe down, I have my widget up here. Now you're thinking, we've had widgets in the notification panel for years, but now Android will prioritize this widget to have it always at the top. Whereas in previous versions of Android, this might be pushed all the way down if I have a bunch of notifications coming in. And this change makes sense because if you're listening to a podcast or you're listening to music, you want to have quick access to your controls. So Android is now smart enough to put this at the very top, no matter if you have a bunch of new Facebook messages or WhatsApp messages coming in. So there are a couple more features of Android 11 I haven't gone over yet, but the fact that Vivo did not get in the way of these new features, they are all here. I'm quite a fan of that. So overall performance with these two phones, I've had no issue. You know, Snapdragon 765G and Snapdragon 720 are both very capable SoCs, and the 4000 mAh battery here is enough to last all day. So really, my only gripe with these phones is the notch. I'm just not a fan of notches anymore. I don't think it's a clean look, even though I understand why it has to be there. And I wish there was a higher refresh rate because 60 Hertz is just not enough for me right now. But then again, I'm someone who's used to using $1,500 flagships. This phone's gonna be 1/3 or maybe 1/4 of that price. So anyway, that's about it for this video of the Vivo V20 Pro and the Vivo V20. I have a lot more stuff coming up in the next couple of days, including on the iPhone 12 and the Huawei Mate 40 Pro. So if you're interested in keeping up to date with all the latest gadgets, please subscribe to my channel or follow me on Instagram at Ben's Gadget Reviews. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.